Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Caitlin Thompson. I'm a reporter with Civil Beat, and I'm very excited to have you guys join us today. I think after yesterday, we are under no illusions that the ocean is a force of nature and not one to be messed with. So having a conversation about ocean safety today happens to actually be kind of a great day to talk about this. And a few housekeeping things before we get started. So I have some pre-submitted questions. Thank you for weighing in. But if you have any questions that you want to ask our panelists, we have flashcards in the back. And if you would please write down your question and then hand it to one of the staff members at Civil Beat, and they will hand it to me. We do that because we don't pass around a microphone typically. So that's your way of asking our panelists some questions. And please silence your cell phones and be aware that this is being recorded. I also want to give a shout out before we get started to our tables in the back that hopefully you had some time to talk to before we got started here. We have YMCA, which does an incredible job of swimming lessons and working with young kids to build up their swimming skills. We have Free Dive Safe, which is an incredible organization that does a lot of work with educating young people on, all people, but particularly kids, on safe practices when freediving. And then we have the Hawaiʻi Lifeguards Association, which runs the Junior Lifeguards program, or works alongside a lot with the Junior Lifeguards program, but also does a lot of incredible work with lifeguards in the state. So with that, we are here to talk about ocean safety and drowning prevention today, particularly when it comes to residents. And this is something that I wrote about recently with the help of all of our panelists earlier this year. And we're out here on the west side in part because water is such a way of life for so many people in this community, and a way that people provide for their families, and a way that people come together and find joy and connection. But it's also tragically a way that a lot of people have lost their lives. And that's really, we're gonna have a frank discussion about that today and what can be done. So I am joined by, we'll go in order, Duane Desoto, legendary waterman, and founder of Nakama Kai, which is a nonprofit that works with young people teaching ocean safety and conservation. We also have Jessamy Hornor, who is the public health educator in drowning prevention at the Department of Health. And we have Kurt Lager, who leads the newly formed Department of Ocean Safety here in Honolulu County. And before we start asking you guys a bunch of questions, I kind of want to set the scene here in case people didn't have time to read the many, many, many words that I put on the page. And I want to give a little bit of background here. So we often think about the people who drown in the state of Hawaii. It's probably the tourists, it's the people with the full face snorkel masks. We live by the ocean, we know the ocean. It can't be that, residents of the state are drowning. But actually, about half of the people in the state of Hawaii who have drowned over the last 10 years have been people who live here. And on the Big Island and Oahu specifically, more than 50% of the people who've drowned in the last 10 years are residents. And I'm not sure that's something that everybody is really, I certainly didn't know that until I started working on this story. Between 2020 and 2024, 187 residents have lost their lives in the ocean in this state. It's about 30 to 45 people across the state every year. Native Hawaiians drown at a rate that is 1.5 times higher than other ethnicities. Native Hawaiian children are more than 3 times more likely to drown than children of other ethnicities. Drowning is the second highest cause of, Hawaii has the second highest rate of resident drownings in the country. Only Alaska is higher. Drowning is the leading cause of death for children in Hawaii. And you're more likely to drown in this state than you are to be in a car crash. And these are some really shocking things. I should also say, it's not just big wave surfers, it's not just kids at the beach. It's a lot of people who know the water really, really well. And that's a good chunk of what we're gonna talk about today. So, yeah, big numbers. I wanna ask our panelists, and this kind of goes to all of you, did that number surprise you? Do you think that that's something that people really realize? Kurt, you wanna kick us off?
Yeah, it is surprising. I think it's really easy to fall under the assumption that the majority of the drownings are visitors to our island just because they're not familiar with the coastlines and the ocean conditions that we have. But we are an island state surrounded by water, and at some point or another, residents and visitors alike will all make their way to the beach for various different reasons. And it is surprising, and I'm looking forward to talking about what can be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Duane, what do you think? Is that something that people really sinks in?
Many years ago, I got invited to the Ocean Safety Conference, and I was doing the kamakai out of one perspective at that time. And it was surprising at the time to see the actual numbers, because if you don't see the drownings, you don't know what's happening. So especially back then, there wasn't Instagram. You didn't have 100 ways to see everything. And at that time, we were actually 55% of the drowning rate was residential. And it blew my mind, because not only was the statistics right in front of us, but the way everything was formulated, we were focusing on the tourists. Mm-hmm. So that's where the funding was from, and da-da-da-da-da. So it's like, huh. I mean, obviously, I felt like I was in that room for a reason as a nonprofit, from trying to work with local kids to learn. And then that was sort of the beginning of me understanding how what I thought I was supposed to do was going to transform to more things, bigger ways of looking at it. So I got to say, though, that it has improved, by about 10% since my first time going. And there must be due to a lot of the different efforts going around statewide with the different nonprofits and the junior lifeguards getting stronger and stronger. But it makes you, it should make all of us think why. That should be why is that even possible, just to take a step back, and then it'll unravel itself.
That was exactly my next question is, why do you think this is? Is it because we are on an island in the middle of the ocean and, this is a way of life? Or why do you think that Hawaii has the second highest resident drowning rate in the country?
I agree with Duane that it really stems from looking at our data to understand the scope of the problem, and also what are the possible causes of that. I think if we look at the keiki drowning rate, that's something I really would like to focus on, because it's something that we really haven't had a concerted campaign around yet. But we are starting to do a lot around that. But if you look specifically at the data point that less than 2% of our keiki have the basic water safety skills to survive a dangerous aquatic situation, I think that's foundational. And if you're looking at the data for Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander children coming from a culture that's rooted in Wai and Kai, we can see that there's a disconnect right now. And, what Duane is doing to share ancestral knowledge and local knowledge with children in community and in culturally rooted ways, I think is just one of our stellar examples of things that we can do. We also have the YMCA here that is teaching water safety skills to our keiki. Just this summer, the Department of Health was able to do a seed grant to fund at least 192 children doing a series of 5 lessons to teach exactly those very basic skills, which we know are, it's evidence-based, research-based. So we have these components, but the question is, how are we going to scale up to address that and make generational change?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I want to talk more about the keiki issue in particular here, because like I said, leading cause of drowning for kids in the state, or leading cause of death. Go for it, jump on in.
I also wanted to talk about Free Dive Safe too. They're also in the schools looking at these hyper-local, very specific activities where we do see high drowning rates. And so I think we have all these different models that we have to weave together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is something that people asked about in questions, some of our audience members ahead of time was, what is the state doing to work with DOE to have mandatory or inclusive, to basically put swim lessons in school? And is that something that could happen? It used to happen. Could it happen again? What needs to happen in order for this to get to that point?
It's a cultural thing, to be honest. And one of the things we have here is so many cultures. And, not everybody is or cares about the ocean, cares about the ocean. So the priority part, where do we put our money? Where do we do this? When you start looking at how money is split up, and how the state's going to look at it, how the DOE is going to look at it. It's really simple. Us not taking the lead with the children is actually the liability. So the liability being said, with the courts and with the this and with the that's, but that's real. But other states deal with the same thing, and they haven't let that stop them from teaching their children how to swim. And we just need to rethink, the legacies that we have here in the islands, that everyone who ends up living here and buying into this place becomes a part of that legacy, is people like Tuka Hanamoku, who was one of the best swimmers in the world for decades over time, and many other amazing water people and ocean people who have actually shared ocean safety with the world, like Brian Keaulana, and teaching the Navy SEALs how to do better work. So we have them in little silos. We just don't have it across the board. It's like a privilege now. And swimming and ocean knowledge should not be a privilege. It should be something that we actually have in our daily lives for all of our children. I've been super persistent about this with the swimming. And the DOE is a really hard nut to crack. We've had our programs going out for about 4 years now in school, but starting in September, we will be doing a pilot with all the 4th graders from Nanakuli to Makaha, and we're using the ocean front of our property to teach swim lessons. They'll each get 5 20-minute swim lessons. So Superintendent Keith and our Kaz, Disahagi, agreed that we will do the entire 4th grade and show how it can be done in the ocean, because we already did it with Liliuokalani Trust. And then what we're doing is eliminating the need for pools. We're not trying to eliminate the need, but we're also trying to show more resource. And it's going to be an interesting way to display what Hawaii has to offer, because everyone has, no matter what island you're on, you're 30 minutes from the ocean somewhere. And so not every ocean conditions are ideal for it, but where there are ideal conditions, we'll be able to have a plan in place that could be implemented, hopefully. So
that's really interesting for a couple of different reasons. One of which is that on the west side, am I correct in thinking there's no public pool here? And there's very few schools in this state who have a pool to use to teach kids how to swim. And also, let's be real, swimming in a pool is totally different than swimming in the ocean out here. So that's a really interesting way of tackling that problem. You know, the other thing that I've been thinking a lot about is understanding the risk, because it's one thing to know where, you know, to be able to swim and to know that you're going to be able to handle that situation, but also even the people who do are going to end up in these really difficult currents. We have some of the most dangerous and complicated oceans in the world. So how do you help people understand the risk that they're taking every time they go in the water? Duane, you and I have talked about this a lot, but Kurt, I want to hear your thoughts too.
It comes back to education, you know. I think a lot of people are going out there to do various different activities. They may think they're underestimating or overestimating their skills and ability to do the activity that they're going out to do. I don't think they're necessarily being smart about looking at the ocean conditions prior to going out, understanding what's going to happen, maybe not just right then, but 5-10 minutes from now. Is there going to be bigger waves or tides changing? If they're going to go snorkeling, kayaking, are the winds going to change? Stuff like that. So I think there needs to be more emphasis on getting people to think that way and educate them in the different tools that are out there before they partake in activities in the ocean.
Yeah, go for it.
So again, I'm wondering how we could do that to scale statewide. That's always the question that I'm looking at. We do have a state resource, highoceansafety.com, that is read by the Department of Health. It was developed in concert with Honolulu Ocean Safety in years past. And I'd say the most valuable feature, it does have a lot of great information about snorkel safety, you know, how to assess risk, but you can actually go on every island and find out where lifeguarded beaches are, and you can see basic conditions reports and choose a beach that's appropriate for your skill level. You know, we know going to a lifeguarded beach is the number one thing that we recommend to avoid risk, and if there is something that happens, that you will have a shorter response time, because with drowning you really only have seconds or minutes. And so but I also believe that we could do more to reach people. You know, certainly with tourism being our leading industry, looking at alerts and warning systems like we had to deal with yesterday, we have the technology and digital platforms to do so much more, like a statewide app that is available to both tourists and residents. We could have QR codes with videos, with lifeguards at every beach talking about the conditions. How do you read that break? How do you read the rips? What are the hazards that you can't see that may come up only once in a while? I just think that most people don't fully understand how to assess risk. So we, again, need to look at a statewide solution and be really a leader in this space. Yeah.
I'm going to add something real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I think too, something to be clear about is, as a residential drowning is so high. A lot of the people who are pushing the limits and possibly dying, the local ones, they have also made an agreement with themselves. This is something that, you know, as a water person, you made that agreement in two different ways. One, you're entering a space where the conditions are stronger than you. And two, you're entering a space that has other predators that's their home. So, you know, to really answer that question for the local resident wise, and the deep sea diving or the free diving and stuff, is about somehow connecting with just working together with getting more information to them. Because I know a lot of guys who think it's baloney and they go by themselves anyway, you know, and really if you give a little bit more perspective, it's not just your life at risk. You're now risking everybody who has to go rescue you. lives. And that kind of perspective might actually help some other people make a little different decision. Maybe not all, but when they realize that, you know, it's not really just about yourself. But yeah, the residential thing's a different nut to crack, for sure.
Yeah. I have so many questions for you guys. But I want to get into that kind of point too. This is dealing with resident drownings. Is that different than dealing with tourists? I mean, tourists are they're a captive audience. There's been a lot of videos on planes and in baggage claim and things like that. But do you have to do something different to reach locals and to help locals understand that risk? Jesse, what do you think?
Well, I'm again thinking about Nakamakai and Free Dive Safe. When you have nonprofits that are rooted in the community and understand the community that you're working with and what is going to work and what you can model and make cool, actually. And I've seen, the things that Free Dive Safe is doing, going into the schools, working with youth, teaching them about the buddy system. And then you're seeing behavior change and also mentoring with people that they look up to. And same with Nakamakai. And also, one of the things that's evidence-based is using a life jacket, especially for keiki. It's mandated for 12 and under here. Even for things like stand-up paddle boards, we have stories of, people thinking they're just starting off on shore and they get blown out. You essentially become a wind sail and you've got 2 kids and you're off drifting. A lot of rescues that I'm hearing about. So how do you change behavior to get people to wear life jackets? Because we know that if you're wearing a life jacket, it's much less likely that you're going to drown. And we see nonprofits like Nakamakai with their photographs and their social media and programming where they have the life jackets on the kids. So that's how we get locally based change.
I want to touch on what you said. You said make it cool, and I think we're seeing a lot of community-based education happening. Like in the surf industry, the big wave surfers. There was people dying from the risks they were taking, and they got together, led by Brian and some of the people. But they got together, and they all, as a group, worked on ways that they could get better at water safety as a group. And even you see everyone at Pipeline now. It's become cool to wear a helmet at Pipeline because we have seen so many injuries there. So I think you see little trends, even in the free dive world, and all the different water sports are out there. And I think if you can kind of grow it from within, someone takes charge within that particular sport that they're partaking in, then it can kind of grow from within. And yeah, I think Nakamakai kind of does that a lot.
Yeah, it's exactly that, and a lot of the pros are doing it. So it legitimizes, the inflatable wetsuits for big wave surfing, and they're getting younger and younger when they're paddling out the big waves. And yeah, it's great seeing the helmets. It also has its adverse effect because you think you're safer. So some parents are sending their kids out when they shouldn't be, because they have a helmet and they're out at pipe, and because you see 20 other kids, well, that's the 20 top kids. So there's also something that we really forget is not everything is for everybody. Yeah. So entitlement is a real issue in this subject, right? It's entitlement means I can have everything everybody else has, but the truth is nothing is like that in the world. And really, there's earned spaces, and you need to earn your way through them. I don't care what you're talking about, and then the ocean is especially that scenario.
Yeah, there's nothing more humbling than the ocean, that's for sure. It is, you will very quickly realize that you are way out of your depth, but that's a big challenge. So I want to turn to an audience question that's going to help. One of I want to talk a little bit about what's going well too at some point, but one of the audience questions is about water safety drones and whether they're being considered here, using drones to I mean, drones will do a lot of things, but one of the things is hopefully help you find people. Kurt, what's your thought on new technology coming into the space?
I think technology is certainly going to change how we do things. It already has. Drones will definitely play a part in that, and it's something that ocean safety is actively looking into. Within the city, there are other departments that have drone programs right now. I think they're very useful as far as getting eyes in the sky and a really bird's eye view in search and rescue scenarios for marine wildlife and when there's shark sightings. I think we're seeing a lot of things that maybe have always been there, but it's better to know it's there than not know it's there. There's other type of drones that can bring a flotation device out to you. There's drones that have speakers on them where you could fly it out to a cliff ledge or someone out in the water and deliver a message to them. There's a lot of different technology out there right now, and I think it's evolving really fast, and it's something we definitely got our eyes on for the future.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So the state back in 2005 set a goal to get the number of resident drownings down to 0.9 per 100,000 people. That was to get in line with national standards. Obviously, Hawaii is a bit of an outlier in terms of the challenges that we deal with, but we've never reached that goal. In fact, in 2022, when the numbers peaked, 60 residents died that year in the state, and that was 4 times the state's goal. So I want to talk with you folks a little bit about what some of the challenges are with reaching that, frankly, ambitious goal. What's keeping us from getting there? Jesse, go for it.
I think about this question a lot. I want to start with, we're at a nexus point. We have the Hawaii Water Safety Plan that just came out with the Hawaii Water Safety Coalition last year, with support from Nakamakai, and it was really a community-based effort. And this has generated a lot of momentum because we know that to have scalable impact, we do need to have deep community engagement. We also need to have government support. And we have had support from our legislators with a number of bills in the last couple of years. Our governor has read the plan and said we should all look at it as a guideline for next steps. So I think we are starting to see that top-down support. What's really going to make a difference is funding, just straight up. We're looking at other states that have invested at the infrastructure level, like New York. They did a $150 million pool, lesson, lifeguard training, outreach program. I think it's even more than that. Louisiana just invested in water safety lessons for all of their 4th graders, and they're saying that contributed to a 40% drop in their drowning rate. So we can actually start to see significant impacts. The World Health Organization has seen, I think, a 38% drop over, I believe, the last 10 years. So I'll need to double check that data point, but drowning prevention data impact is possible, but we do need to start funding those initiatives that are outlined here and that we're seeing in other states.
That's really helpful.
Can I add something?
Please.
So Hawaii is super unique, though. We don't have seasons. So a lot of the places have seasonal ocean activity, right? So we have all 4 seasons are like summer, basically. We have like super big waves on the South Shore because we get the winter swells from Tahiti, and then we have our own North Shore. So that's one of the dynamics too, with our numbers being different. But it also means that we can spend more time doing it, not just summers, right? Like our junior lifeguards is in the summers. We can do more if we had the funding, but we need people to be excited about it from the top. So that way the decisions don't get lost in translation. They get sent down and things happen. They become budget line items. They get prioritized and then they happen. And so we literally are not taking advantage of us being Hawaii by leading in all of these fields. We've done it in silos, which then other people have copied and then did it better than us. But we haven't actually done it for our community in a broad sense. So it's time to shift that. And we need some support from the guys up top. That's what's cool about Keith, Superintendent Keith, willing to do this. Like, he's willing to try something different. And that's spawned because of such a connection with the canoes right now in the education system. But it didn't make sense to jump on a canoe, but you never teach the kids how to swim yet. Right? So like, oh, light bulbs. But, you know, the fact he had an open ear, right, at the top. So we're you know, it's a collective, but for us to be reaching the people who are the decision makers, and we just got to keep pushing. We got here because we've been pushing.
So that's a really good opportunity for Kurt. I want to talk to you a little bit about, because as our audience might be aware, we now have an Ocean Safety Department as its own unique thing in Honolulu County, and that's a new thing. Kurt, can you talk a little bit about how that's, like, why that came to be and why that's important to the work that you're doing?
It's something that's been talked about within ocean safety for a number of years. And the push is that we've been partnered with a couple different agencies over the years, but our mission, our job, what we do in ocean safety is unique. And as Duane was saying, you know, the guys at the top weren't necessarily in agreement that ocean safety needed to be its own department. I don't know if they're emphasizing enough priority on ocean safety awareness. And this current administration, I believes that ocean safety should have been a department, made us a department, and we now are in control of our own budget, making our own decisions, purely based off what is good for ocean safety and the communities and the people and visitors that are going to the beaches.
And so, to talk about a little bit of optimism here, we have seen a significant decline in the number of resident drownings in Honolulu County. And Kurt, I wonder where you think that comes from.
I think it could come from many different areas. In 2023, we expanded our hours a little bit earlier in the morning, a little bit later in the evenings. So that's 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, 14 hours a week that we're out there. And I've always said that ocean safety is in the business of prevention. Our job is to prevent rescues. We make rescues when we have to, but we try to prevent them, and we have various different ways that we prevent them. But the most common way is one-on-one, go down and educate someone on the hazards that exist at the beach that they're visiting, and to educate them and give them safe alternatives to go somewhere else. And I think having lifeguards in towers down on the beaches that are vigilant and watching the water and talking to people on the beaches is making a really big difference.
So it raises a different challenge on neighbor islands, though, and we, have this is being shared widely and recorded so that we can share this conversation with neighbor islands as well. It's, I was on the Big Island for this reporting. They've tried really hard to grow their staff, but it's a huge landscape, and it raises a different challenge. So how it can't just be everybody at a lifeguarded beach. Lifeguards, are going to help, but what else do we need to be doing? Anyone take it? I know you all have thoughts.
I want to go back to education and prevention because I'm with the EMS Injury Prevention Systems branch, so I'm learning a lot about emergency response times, and when there's not a lifeguard there, if you're on an outer island, response times tend to be longer. And so again, I think if we can't have that kind of coverage, then always we want to look at what can we do to make these incidents not even happen. Again, going back to the keiki side, one thing that we can all do, and we did pass out some of these Water Watcher cards from Kapiolani and the Keiki Injury Prevention Coalition. The state is actually going to be funding the development of a statewide water safety campaign, teaching parents to be, have close, constant, capable supervision of your children in any aquatic environment, whether it's at the beach, pools, bathtubs, around rivers. Even when you you're not exactly in the water, but you're around water, because supervision is one of the layers of protection. We are hearing from lifeguards that they do so much watching of children whose parents are just hanging out, on the cell phone. And, if there's hundreds of people in the water, like at Duke's Ocean Fest, there was a video going around where a lifeguard made a rescue within seconds of this girl almost going under, and there was someone with their cell phone right next to her. So we can't rely on each other. We have to have our eyes on our own keiki, even when there's a lifeguard. So that's one campaign that we are going to create for statewide distribution. And I think if we could start getting those specific messages out, then we can start to see those data points dropping, especially that keiki data point.
So somebody in the audience raised this point, and this is something I thought about a lot in this reporting, that a lot of the reasons, like what residents are doing when they drown, is very different than tourists. Tourists are largely snorkeling, swimming. For locals, it's different things, and a lot of those things are very cultural practices or subsistence farming, or subsistence activities. Spearfishing, picking opihi. Spearfishing, picking opihi, fishing from the shoreline, those are things that don't necessarily happen in the eyesight of a lifeguard, right? So what's the messaging? What needs to happen to reach people in those situations, do you think? Duane, what do you think?
The common phrase is going to be the education, and part of what we're doing is the children. They're the easiest ones to influence. I mean, that's why all the brands go after children, right? Coca-Cola, McDonald's, because they have Disneyland. Afterwards, they're fans forever. And really what I've seen too is while we're teaching the children, they teach their parents. It's really unique. And so they become little teachers, and they become people who save. So many rescues happen from other surfers. So, the kind of influence we can have on surfers, maybe include them in the mission, because, we work with 3,000 to 5,000 kids a year. Junior lifeguards works with tons of kids a year. I don't know the numbers. But then those kids are coming back with rescues. So they're literally the ones in the water when something's happening and have the knowledge how to react and what to do. And that is, one of the simpler ways to look at it is arming our littles and our masses with knowledge and skills. Currently, the junior lifeguard budget is not big enough. It
doesn't exist.
It's ridiculous. Still doesn't exist then. So, I remember when Ralph Godo was going on, he would go, it wasn't in the budget line. He would take guards. He would stress out all summer just to make sure it still was executed in all the locations, which doesn't make any sense. Number one, anybody who wants to be on a surf team needs a junior lifeguard certification. So there's like a confusion here where we have these expectations and then we're not supporting it at the same time. And the littles, though, seriously, if you start to look, if we start at a certain generation, eventually everyone will have learned it. That's the key, right? Is that we start with the littles, and generation, keiki after keiki, year after year, now the water's full of people who can respond, and they will be saving more tourists as well. I've been down in Big Island in the middle of nowhere, and I see a guy I gotta go rescue swimming against a current, and that's just what it is, But if you don't know that you can do something and still be safe, and you don't know how to do something and still be safe, you're either gonna drown with them or you're not gonna do anything. So it's about having the opportunity to learn it.
We fight for our budget every year. We don't have a specific line item for our junior lifeguard program to support it, and it's something we're still working on. But we do find ways, and we do use our own lifeguards off the beaches still to to make the program happen. It's a super important program, and we're fortunate enough that we were able to pull that off with the number of workers we have. And we're also looking at ways to expand that and continue to advocate for the junior guard program. And Duane mentioned the surf teams, and we're going to hold special junior guard programs specifically for those kids that want to be on those surf teams this year. Now that's an official sport in high school, so we'll be doing that in the next couple months. So there is good things happening.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, and speaking of good things, Kirsten and I were talking before this event got started about a save that was done by a kid who was in junior guards and who did performed a rescue and saved someone's life. And so it's a really interesting program. Duane, I thought the way that you phrased it was really interesting, that we're setting these expectations, but we're not necessarily supporting it. And, when I think about that goal that was set in 2005, and I think about, earlier this year there was a Water Safety Coalition meeting, and the governor said, our goal is 0 preventable drownings. And, have we done enough to support that goal?
No. Just to give some context too, we don't charge the kids for junior lifeguards in Hawaii. So when you go to California, you see 400 kids running down the beach at Huntington and 400 kids running back. All of those children paid for that programming, and the budgets are incredible. They make a lot of money off of that. We try very hard to make sure that, especially the way we run the Kamakai, is we got this information and this knowledge and this experience for free. So our children deserve this same experience. Because if you start to charge our kids for this stuff, then you're going to eliminate even more kids from learning it. It's going to become another privilege thing, right? We are reacting instead of being proactive. I think that's the biggest thing that we have to sink into is instead of reacting to everything that's going on, the lifeguards are preventing on purpose, right? Talking to thousands of people a day, literally. But when you have big waves and it's very obvious, you can talk to them. When you go to Ala Moana and it's flat, the idea in most people's heads is it's safe because there's no waves. But in actuality, it's more dangerous because everyone's letting their guard down. You see, including parents, including children, because you're not even getting that butterflies, that your owl's not even kicking in going, hey, it's dangerous, you better wait and look and watch. Well, it's flat and it's calm, it's quiet, it looks beautiful. I'm fine. And then, little do you know, the slope in the sand. And that's where we lose a lot of our tourists as well. But we don't, just not even being, you can't go talk to every single guy on the beach on a flat day and be like, hey, it's dangerous. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? So it's complicated, at the same time. We can put more onus, though, on our tourists. And there's a fear of scaring tourists. And so we need to get rid of this blind-minded mindset because, we're going to put some onus on them, some kuleana we call it, right? We're going to put some kuleana on our visitors and educate them. I think it's actually more fair to share that with them than to not to share that with them so that we can get their money. Just come, it's fine. We got choke lifeguards, and all of a sudden, I don't know if you remember, you weren't here, but when Blue Crush happened, the North Shore did a somersault. It had people in the summers at the beach. Like, North Shore, the summers used to be empty. Literally the next summer, it became every day of the year the North Shore was busy. So we sold our paradise to the world through this movie. Everybody came, and then we still had the same amount of city lifeguards. We had the same amount of parks workers. We didn't grow anything to match the influx. Yeah. So not only did we not prepare in that way, we're not even giving that kuleana to the people who are coming to be aware for themselves. Yeah. And we can do that. mandatory stuff on the plane, not just if you dig like 40 movies deep, you find something on ocean safety.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something I know, yeah, that's been a tricky thing. But one of the things, I mean, Jesse, we've talked about this too, the, you know, being reactive instead of proactive. What do you know, where do we stand and where are you hoping to go?
I think, you know, I talked about investing, funding. It really truly is an investment. And if we look at the cost of resident drownings and visitor drownings, I don't even think we've mapped that out, because, and there are protocols to assess that. I think we do need to do that as a state. What is the cost on our first responders, on our trauma system, on our lifeguards, the social, emotional, and financial costs of losing one specific person, the impact in their community and their family. It's generational trauma, every single drowning. I know about this personally. And I think many people here do probably know somebody who's drowned. So that's something that we haven't put on the spreadsheet that I think we need to do. I know Senator Kochi spoke about that at the Water Safety Conference. He said, show us the numbers. We need to see the cost of not preventing these drownings. And also, when we invest in water safety competencies, we're building a lifetime skill, a life-saving lifetime skill. We're enriching the fabric of our community. And so it's just a win-win, essentially. And I think we can look at other states and countries that have invested and see the positive impact.
Kurt, did you have anything you wanted to add, or we've got some? Go for it. Okay, so audience question: ocean versus water, or sorry, ocean versus pool safety. Does teaching a kid what to do in a pool really translate to what to do when you are in a rip current, or a really shallow shore break that, like at Sandy's, is quite dangerous, or when you're free diving, for example?
No, it doesn't really translate. The pool is a mostly static environment with, there's steps and ladders to get out of it. The coastline on any given coast varies every few hundred yards or even feet. The ocean's moving and alive, as you witnessed yesterday. Even effects from far away can have very strong effects on our waters here that can change very quickly. You drive around the corner of an island, and one area might be really small, and you go around the corner and it's strong current or big waves. So it's a very dynamic, changing environment in the ocean. And then, as was mentioned earlier, there's also added elements such as marine life and different things in the other hazards in the water, not just the ocean itself, rocks, reef, that type of stuff.
Yeah, and that's what's so important about junior lifeguards too. I do want to just really quickly say we are at the official audience question portion. If you have any questions, please flag my colleague Ashley, and she'll bring you a pen and a card, and we'll get to as many as we can. The audience questions have been great. Thanks, guys. Go for it.
I just want to say one thing as a follow-up to that question about basic water safety competencies in the pool versus the ocean. Absolutely different environments, and there are skills that can be used in both places that are critical to survival, like floating, safe entry exit. If you see a pier, someone in trouble, throw, don't go, call an adult. I would, if we have an opportunity to ask our YMCA aquatic specialists, it's a highly technical space. Every aquatic environment is different, but I think some of these basic skills are something that we need to teach everybody.
I'm gonna ask fast one. The pool and the ocean are different, but you can gain skills in the pool, and then they can translate as long as you understand that. I think the confusion is you think you know how to swim in the pool, that you automatically know how to swim in the ocean. So that's just sort of something that needs to be clarified sometimes, through experience.
Yeah, I think my swim lessons in high school really taught me that I am not getting into the water on the North Shore in the winter. It's just not happening. All right, so a couple more. We definitely have some more audience questions. Keep them coming. I do want to kind of touch on this point that we talked about a little bit, but like the money. I mean, that's the big limiting factor of anything. Where, have we really like stepped up with the financial resources, do we think? That's the big.
I can speak on the city side. I think we're taking steps in the right direction. We're getting a lot of support from this administration, and a lot of money has been put into our department over the last 7-8 years. We have seen a lot of growth and adding employees and adding lifeguard towers and expanding our hours that we work. So I think we are seeing a lot of good support right now. Of course, we could always use more, but right now it's going in the right direction at least.
So I know the Department of Health has allocated at least $300,000 for the Keiki Water Safety Campaign this year, and that's in development with CNHA's Kilohana. So it will be culturally grounded and focused on local, as well as able to reach visitor families. Another funding stream is our federal funding stream. We know that that's a very complicated situation right now. However, I do have some good news that Hawaii was just invited in to be the 11th state for an initiative from the CDC Foundation. It's funded by the Bloomberg Philanthropy Group, so it's not our federal government, but it's through the foundation. And they are actually going to be funding epidemiologists to come and work with the Department of Health on really drilling down on our data and helping us to develop targeted policy based on that. So that'll be for 2 years. They also opened up a grant for our local nonprofits, $100,000 each. I think we're just starting to hear back. I did hear from the YMCA that they were awarded, YMCA Honolulu. So if we can open up those federal funding streams, that's critical. There are also things like if we can update our building code to require four-sided fencing for private pools, we will be eligible for another federal grant. So we're hoping to support that as well. That's one of those passive prevention measures that we know will immediately drop our keiki drowning rate, especially for the under 5. So we're really looking at those funding streams and proven models.
You guys are telling me a lot of things I didn't know today, which is really cool about new things that are about to happen. So we have a question from someone in the audience about kind of the breakdown of who is drowning in the state, who lives here. So gender, age, what I'm going to throw in there what people are doing. I will say one thing to pay attention to: the Department of Health puts out some of this information every year. But I'm curious, can you guys tell us, like, from your what you guys know about, some of the breakdowns of who's at risk here and who we're seeing show up in these numbers? Anything that you have off the top of your head? I will say I spent way too much time with these numbers. It's all in my, there's some really interesting statistics out there that I'm happy to share with anyone, but.
I can just say that the Department of Health does put a lot of energy and resources into gathering this data. It's our marching orders, essentially, to know where to put resources. So for really specific inquiries, we have to ask Dr. Galanis. He's our in-house expert. I know you spent a lot of time working with him on that, but in the plan, we do cite a lot of the data that was provided by them.
Yeah, which also, this thing that I have in front of me is the Hawaii Water Safety Plan, and actually has a lot of this information. So happy to, this is available online, but I'm also happy to share my copy. With that, we are out of time, but I want to ask you guys, do you have any last thoughts that you want to share? I have a feeling that education might be on top of your minds. That seems to be a running theme. Anything that you guys want to say to wrap us up here?
Very quick. It's reducing barriers to access to water safety lessons is a top priority from the CDC Foundation all the way down to our state and starting with the WHO. So that's where we're focused on this year.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, ocean safety, we're in the business of prevention, and I like to say that any body of water can be dangerous at any time, flat water, big waves. So we're really putting some efforts into public education and different campaigns to get this education that we keep talking about out to the different communities and people that are using the oceans this year.
I'll just ping off your access point. All of our private schools teach the kids to swim. So all of our public schools deserve to have the same thing. We just got to make it happen.
That's an interesting point. Okay. I have so many more questions for you folks. I guess, final question, you know, hypothetically we have this conversation again in 5 years, 10 years. Where do you hope we are in terms of the number of resident drownings and how we've achieved that?
In 5 years, the truth is that our public school system should have swimming by then. You know, that's going to curve a lot of the drownings. And then, you know, just shifting the way we as a community see the ocean. We gotta work together. We have too many silos here competing with each other. So we need more of our silos to start to join together and look at Hawaii, because that's one of the things we're facing. We're facing many things here. And really that bridge between those silos of groups we have here, which are better than most states, to be honest. We work together pretty well, but we can work together better. And then unite on the fronts that are important to us all.
Maybe you want to look into the future a little bit?
I completely agree with Duane. I think we need to see more collaboration amongst all partners that are advocating for water safety. I think a lot more can be done, and I think it will be done. I think we're seeing it happening right now, the fact that we're here talking about it. So it's.
And with that, I think we'll call it a night. But this was really interesting. Thank you all for weighing in with questions. Thank you so much to our panelists for all of their help in this reporting and also all of their insights today. Thank you to our booths for joining. Again, we have the Hawaii Lifeguards Association, Free Dive Safe, and the YMCA, all incredible organizations doing really interesting work that touches on a lot of what we have talked about here today. If you have further questions, please let me know, and I'm always happy to. Also, Kirsten is calling this out too. The Hawaii Water Safety Plan is a really interesting document. If you have not read it, I've read it like 5 times. Thank you everyone so much. I'm really appreciate you coming out to have this conversation with us. Thank you.